Okay, good afternoon again. Good morning, everybody. So we have reached basically more than half of the. Good morning, Wei Xing. We have reached more than half the this semester's delivery. Okay, guys, meaning we already surpassed the now is actually week 7. Supposedly some lecturers they don't really give lecture this week, but I want to make it a bit faster, so you will basically finish on the week 11. I think if you go with the tuition week, because we have about 12 week of the materials that we want to cover. So for process modeling and optimization, this week we're gonna move into the distributed model. Okay, so all the LAM model have been covered already. We're going to move into the distributed model. So what is distributed model? So before we go into the steady state distributed model or the transient distributed model, we have to first develop the distributed model itself. Okay. Hi, good afternoon, Juliana. Good morning. Good morning, Juliana. The distributed model is we have gone through in the LAM model that the system properties are uniform. Okay, they are well mixed, and there is no special change. Okay, meaning that there is no special dependent behavior. It's easy, right? Like what we showed in the process control and both in the process modeling, that we don't have to account for the behavior change in terms of the space for your property. Okay. So in distributed model we have a difference. Hi, good morning, Usman. Okay. We have to account for the spatial change. The model behavior is distributed in the space dimension. So everything is developed in a similar way, except that the balance equation will be set up for that arbitrarily small fluid elements or infinite small control volume. So for those that already get the transport phenomena, you will know that the scale is basically shrink. So instead of using a macroscopic, we go into a microscopic level. So microscopic level meaning that we go into a micrometer element. And because we go into the micrometer element, meaning that we have a variation of the properties in the particular system. You will get more in details when we go into the transfer phenomena, but this is a very good introduction for the process modeling that we go into the systems. Okay, in the well-mixed systems like this LAM system, the system is quite conventional, something like a liquid level, or that is a reactor that we assume that everything is mixed, like a continuous stir tank reactor or the liquid level mixing or something like that. Okay, for distributed model, this is going to be a bit different. So these are the differential element that we made. Okay, in here we make it simple as is in a cube elements, and then this one is where the x we going in the x directions in here, y directions is that directions, and z direction is that direction basically. Okay, again we use the same conservation law again, which is in plus generation is equal out plus consumption plus accumulation. So if we move in the consumption into the left hand side, we have the net production, which is the generation minus the consumption. So this is something that we will use a lot in developing the distributed model. In transfer phenomena, actually, I go much more. I go into something that is much more intimate in terms of understanding. So instead of using the cube volume in the beginning, I show you how the shell element was made. Okay, because if we assume that this is a cube, meaning that we assume that the property change not only in the x direction, but also in the y direction and in the z direction. But as we go in the transfer phenomena, we know that it's not not the properties probably will not change in the y direction, or the properties will not change in the z direction, but only in the one direction. So that's why we are only taking the thickness in the x direction, for example. Okay, I'll not go into this in details, but hopefully next semesters when you see me again, we will try to cover that thing in more detail. Okay. So now let me go into the next slide. So how do we take for in the case of the mass balance? So if in the case of the mass balance, the accumulation of the mass is simply the time change of mass. So this one, for example, is kilogram per meter cube. The unit for this volume, for example, will be the meter cube, for example. So you need to check the unit whether this is matching or not. So this one is basically the accumulation term. For the simplicity, we will just inspect the convective flow of mass in the x direction. Okay, the inflow of mass can be expressed as density times the volume flow rate. Okay, so if you go here, you are only inspecting the flow in the x direction in here. So the surface area will be delta y multiplied by the delta z. Okay, multiplied by the velocity in the x dimension. Velocity multiplied by the density. Okay, so Vx. And this is inspected at x. When we mean by inspected by x, is this what is inspected at this particular coordinate in here, at x. Okay, we are inspecting whatever that goes in here and whatever that goes out in here. Okay, that will be the one in the x dimension. How about the one outflow at the x plus delta x? That will be the same, pretty much the same like this. Delta y, delta z, rho, Vx, inspected at x plus delta x. No generation of mass, so the total mass balance becomes this. Why there is no generation of mass or consumption of mass? Because in this particular mass balance, we don't talk about the reaction. Okay, so meaning we get this one. Now, I would like you to do the derivations on the units in here. This is applicable in your take-home assignment 2, take-home assignment 1, and then also applicable in your project 1. And if your project 2 also comes with the mass balance, then you need to always match the unit. I want to see the unit cancellation. So for example, this one is kilogram per meter cube per second. This one is meter cube. So the total unit for this one will be kilogram per second. You need to ensure that this is the same case in here. So there is a meter per second, kilogram per meter cube. There is a meter square in here. So you will have the same unit in here, kilogram per second. That's why we call it the mass balance, because you can tell that from the unit cancellations, you know that this is basically a mass balance. Okay, so one is inspected at x, the other one is inspected at x plus delta x. Then how do we go ahead with this one? Okay, we assume that the volume boundaries are time independent. So this means that the control volume derivative is 0, and it is possible to divide all terms with the volume. Therefore, as the volume size goes to 0, we can take the limit of delta V to 0. The total mass balance in the x direction becomes this. So you divide by delta y, delta x, delta y, delta z on the left hand side. You divide by the delta x, delta y, delta z on the right hand side. As a result, you will get delta x on the denominator of the right hand side. And then we want to make this finite quantity becomes infinite. So we want to make it continuous, so we can use a calculus to solve this particular problem. So we take the limit of delta V approaching 0, which means that as the delta x approaching 0, that delta x will also approaching 0. Then we have this term in here, which comes from the mass balance. Okay. So an equation like the one that just shown with derivative in more than one independent variable is called a PDE, partial differential equations. Why? So instead of putting the terms in terms of d, we use this term called del. Why? Because we have two different derivative in here, one with respect to time, one with respect to x. Okay, guys, I think if there is not clear in here, I'm just talking more about the concepts and the mathematical terms of these things. Okay, this particular PDE with first order derivative in space and time is called convective type PDE or first order hyperbolic PDE. In general case, there will be a flow field in all direction, because if you have a mass balance in the three directions, you have x, y, and then z. That means you have these terms in here, okay, which you can equalize to the del divergence of the velocity in here. You put a dot in here, then this will be equal to this term in here. Okay, one for the x, one for the y, and then one for the z. It's very important when you talk about the first order derivative here. You see, this is first order derivative with respect to time, and also first order derivative with respect to the space in here. Okay, this is first order derivative, right? This is first order. This is first order. So that's why it is called the convective or first order hyperbolic PDE. We have different types of the partial differential equations, okay? And then the way that they are being solved has been established already in the literature. But it's very important that you pay attention into what type of the specific PDEs that we have. Okay, then I'll continue again. I don't know why sometimes this is a bit difficult to. Okay, now we go into an example. The mass balances on a pipe. So a medium is flowing through a pipe. It's normally a fluid, either a gas or a liquid. The pipe has cylindrical geometry with a constant cross-section. The accumulation of the mass is the volume integral of the density. Mass enters the volume at position Z and exits at the position of Z plus dz by convection only. So we took in notations that we took in the conventions that the directions of the flow is in the Z direction. That's why we put in here Z equals 0, here Z equal L, and the shell elements in here is Z and Z plus delta Z in here. Okay. So the accumulation of mass in the control volume is the time derivative of the volume integral of the density. So that's accumulation of mass will be this term. Okay, because this is the integral of that A rho n, the length, the incremental length in the Z directions. Okay, integrated from Z to Z plus dz. Okay, and this will be the derivative of the time. The inflow and outflow will be Vz multiplied by A multiplied by rho z. Okay, the outflow is the same, except this is inspected in terms of the velocity and the rho at different coordinate. Okay, then you put them into the mass balance. You put it like this, and again check again the units. If the unit does not match, then something is wrong. It's very important that you check the unit. What you can do is basically you go and convert that into the equivalent for the left hand side and the right hand side. So in here you convert it back into the integration term that includes also the derivative term. Okay, then we took an assumption that if the boundaries are time independent, then the time derivative in the accumulation term can be moved inside the integral to become like this. What we do next is we can remove the integration term in here and recover the same thing that we developed in the previous derivations in here. Okay, we go into here, except the difference in this example is that we are dealing with the Z instead of the X, because the flow in the tube goes in the Z direction. Okay, so this is essentially identical to the general equation that is developed above. Okay, now I will go into the next slide again with this one. You can stop me if you have any questions. Okay, in here. Now, into the second example here, we are discussing a mass balance where, unlike the previous example where we only have a convection meaning that there's a flow, okay, but this one is a molecular diffusion. Molecular diffusion meaning that you have a gradient in terms of the concentrations, okay, that really cause that diffusions in the molecular level. This we will go and discuss in details when we go into the transport phenomena, I think in your next semester. Okay. What is important in here is that we are given a molecular diffusion term that is expressed in terms of the fixed first law. So in here, this equation in here is the so-called fixed binary law of diffusion. If we go and derive these things in the transfer phenomena, okay. This equation in here has the same identical form with the Newton's law of what do you call Newton's law of momentum transport, and then also called the Fourier's law of heat conduction. This is the same, but the note that you need to put in here is this equation only applicable to the binary mixture. Okay, meaning it's only in the systems where you have two components only. For example, where a component A diffuses in a solvent B. If you go into a three system or a four system, so you're talking about the ternary systems or you're talking about the quaternary system, then you will not be able to use this fixed first law. You have to use the equation called the Stefan-Maxwell equation. That's going to be a bit more complicated than this fixed first law. But for the sake of this example, we're just going to discuss this fixed first law in here. Okay. Now we want to derive the component mass balance, assuming that only diffusion takes place. Okay. How do we do that thing? So we do the same things that we do, meaning that we are using the same image again over the x direction, except in here the accumulation of mass of component A will be, we are involving something we call the molecular weight, concentrations, and then the volume in here. So it's imperative that you check again these things again in here. What is this? This will be probably kilogram per kilogram mole, and then the Ca in here probably will be kilogram mole per meter cube, and then this one in here probably will be meter cube, right? Then you also need to check what is the unit for this fixed first law in here. What is the unit of the DAB? What is the unit of the dCA and the dx? If I'm not wrong, the unit for this diffusivity coefficient is normally expressed in terms of the length square divided by time. So this one is normally expressed in meter square per second. Okay, this one is expressed in terms of the kilogram mole per meter cube, and then this one is per meter. Okay, so you have to have the same units on this accumulation with the inflow and the outflow. The term is a bit different, but because in here we are dealing with the mass balance in the presence of the molecular diffusion, okay, not the convection. If we go ahead and continue with the same derivations that we did for the convection case, then we come up with this term in here. Then this delta x in here, we take the limit as this approaching 0. We will come with this term in here. Del Ca over del T is equal to the minus del JA divided by del X. Okay, now we can then substitute this law in here into this term in here. Then we will get the fixed second law. This is something that we call the fixed second law. Okay, this is what we call fixed first law. You need to know that there is a negative sign in here, but I will not discuss the importance of these things until you reach the transport phenomena. But later you will know what I meant by this negative in here. It's very important that you know why this is negative. I mean later in your transport phenomena, not in your process modeling. Okay. So this final expression is first order with respect to time and second order with respect to x. And it's called a parabolic partial differential equation. Is sometimes called the diffusion time PDE or heat equation. Okay, so these things is something that you has a different form when with respect to the one we derive in terms of the convection. So for convections, you will get the convective type PDE. for the molecular diffusion, you will get the diffusion type PDE. Okay, so if you want to revise it again later after you finish these things, you want to revise it again to understand what I try to discuss here today. Okay, dispersion. Dispersion in here occurs in the turbulent flow in complicated passages such as backbed or porous media. It has the similar form like the fixed first law, but however, with one major difference is that the AX in here is the dispersion coefficient is flow dependent, while the diffusion coefficient in here is generally not flow dependent. Okay. Then now we go into the dispersion example in here, the tubular reaction with dispersion. So let's imagine that a medium is flowing again in the same example that we have in here. Is flowing through a tubular reactor. Okay, a chemical component has the concentration C. The accumulation of mass in the finite volume is the volume integral of the density. Okay, we are deriving the same example, except this one is dispersion, is not a convective flow like before. Okay, so this is the accumulation of mole. The inflow of mole is taking, you have two terms in here. The first terms corresponds to your convection term. Convection is your flow, okay, your flow. The second term in here, with respect to your diffusion or dispersion in here, this is dispersion, okay. So you take it at Z, you take it at Z, the same with the outflow, you take it at Z plus delta Z, you take it at Z plus delta Z. And then you also have the something what we call a reaction. The reaction in here results in the productions of your particular component in here. It's important again that you go and check into the units consistency for all these terms. Okay, this term should be the same with this term. If this all cancel out, whatever you get from this particular term should be equal to the whatever you get from these particular terms, and you have to ensure that this is the case. If not, then meanings the lecturer that explained to you is not doing his job. Okay, he has to make sure that everything unit is correct. So it's the same thing with my process control and process modeling. If you have any doubts in your tutorial, or you think you see any typos in the tutorials, in any lectures or everything, then you are free to ask. And then once you ask, we will correct the typo or the mistakes that we make in the tutorial or lecture, because we are human, so we are not free from mistake. But the principle is that we always try to improve ourselves. So it's very good that some of you actually ask the tutor, ask the tutor or myself, and then we correct the typo or the mistake that we have in the tutorials. That's how we try to improve the accuracy over time. Okay, so we go with this, then we put in everything into the respective positions in the mass balance. We put in everything in here, then we rearrange. Then we finally get this particular terms in here. Okay. If we remove all the integrals and we assume that a and the ax are constant, then after we divide by a, we will have this term in here. This partial differential equation is a bit special because this contains one convective term, this term in here. It contains one dispersion term, which is the parabolic term in here, and it also contains one reactive term in here. So this is something that we call the hyperbolic parabolic partial differential equations. Why? Because this we put in the derivations in here, we account for the convective term, and also we account for the molecular diffusion. This one is a molecular diffusion. This one is dispersion term, which has the same form with the diffusion, except this one is, I think, flow dependent. Okay, so this is called hyperbolic parabolic PDE. So far we have gone through three different type of the partial differential equation: the convective type PDE, parabolic type PDE, and the mixture of these two. Okay, same thing again. I probably will not go in detail for this one. The energy balances, you can just do the same again for your energy balances. We inspected the cube again, and this is inspected in the 3 dimensions. Okay, so let me go into the bottom. So what we need to do is that we assume that the total energy is composed of the internal energy and kinetic energy. So this one in here is the internal energy, this term in here is the kinetic energy. We assume that the accumulation of potential energy and other energy forms can be neglected. And in the same in the first case, on the mass balance, we only derive the convective flow of mass in the x direction. So this is what you need to do. You get the one in the x coordinate, and then you get the one on the x plus the x coordinate. Same, you get the net conduction of energy, the net work against the volume forces, and the net work against surface forces. Put in everything. The derivation is given in my additional materials. Okay, I'll not go into the details through these things, but you can see, because I don't have enough space in the slides to put it in, but you can download this in your canvas. The derivation is given in here for the energy balance. Okay, once you got that thing, and if you do everything correctly, you take the limit of delta x approaching 0, then this will be your distributed energy balance in one space dimension. Okay, now we go into an example that will make it more easy for us to understand. So consider a special case when it is possible to neglect the change in the kinetic energy, the gravity term in the x direction, and the viscous work. So you go and inspect where's your kinetic energy. The kinetic energy is here, right? The gravity term, which one is the gravity term? This one is the one that contains the gravity term, and the viscous work. The viscous work will be meaning this term in here. So you remove those terms, then you will get this that is simplified into this term here. This is for the case for the fluid with low velocity. How about if we have a convection of liquid? So we assume that we can take 5 assumptions in here. Okay, if we take that 5 assumptions, then we can get this particular form in here. And since we take that U is equal, internal energy is more or less equal to the enthalpy, then we can then simplify it further to this particular equations in here, which means that the accumulation terms is equal to the convection of the enthalpy. Then we can also derive the energy balance for the conduction of the liquid, except this time we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 assumptions in here to make our life simple. Okay, including one of them will be the Fourier's law, which is this one, Qx is equal minus lambda the dt over dx in here. If we do the general energy balance, it will simplify to these terms in here. And if we have a small temperature changes where we can assume that the constant heat capacity exists, then we can have these things in here. And mathematically, this equation will be identical to the Fick's second law, which is meaning that this one is the first order derivative with respect to time. This one is the second order derivative with respect to the coordinate. This is also called the parabolic PDE or the heat equation. Okay, then we go into the next example again. So far everybody has any questions on these things? So if that one dimension we extend it into the 3 dimensions, then we can use the more general equation form, which is expressed in terms of the tensor and the matrix variables in here. Okay, note that what you mean by the tensor is that tensor has 2 directions, meaning that every time you express a tensor, it means it's not only in one direction, but it's only 2 directions. In transport phenomena, we started with the momentum transport because momentum has a direction, and then the momentum transport itself has a direction. So meaning beside only the direction for the momentum, you also have the directions for the momentum transport. That's why if you can understand momentum transport, that will be easier for you to understand the heat transport and the mass transport. I'll not go into the details on these things because I'm not really a fan of a complicated notations. To me, it's a mathematical should be easy to be understand. Okay, but probably you can just go by yourself. But generally, for all the examples and all the problems that we are given, that we will give to you, it's not going to be consisting of something that with the complex variables like this. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna go into an example in here where we have a tube with convection and heating across its circumferential area. So assume that we have a tube like this, then we take the directions on the radial direction is R. We take the directions down the tube as X. Okay. We take an assumption that the tube length is unity. The density, heat capacity, and velocity V are constant. The area of the tube is also constant. The tube is heated with a constant flux Q across its circumferential surface area with characteristic head length of Ls. The kinetic energy can be neglected and the internal energy is equal to the enthalpy. So something you are basically heating these tube elements on this particular surface in here. Okay, you are heating it across these things in here. So you want to develop the energy balance for a differential tube element. So your shell elements will be something with the thickness of delta X. Okay, thickness of delta X in here, X plus delta X. So you need to concern yourself with developing an energy balance over this particular shell elements in here. So how do we do that thing? It's not really explained in details in here. Okay, it's basically if you want to go in here, you check again. I have derived this thing in here. So you want to go with the conservation law, accumulation in equal out, but you pay attention into this particular shell elements in here. The accumulation in here corresponds to the derivative of the density multiplied by the A, because the cross section or the surface area of the flow does not change across the tube. Okay, and then you are dealing with this A in here, and don't forget that you are your focus is in here with the thickness of delta X, and we multiply by the enthalpy. What about the in here? So it's the same. You whatever the convective flow, this is the convective flow that comes, whatever comes in from this particular directions on the surface of this shell element, inspected at X, and then you also have another heat that comes out from the circumference in here, from your circumference, meaning your along this, okay, along the contact with your with the heating elements, the contacts in here. Okay, that is very important that you notice that thing. And then you also have something that goes out in here, which is this one. In the derivations, look at what I have done in here. I always put the units. The unit can be anything that you think can be choice. It will be better if you use a SI system for the units. You can see that everything will cancel out into joule per second. Once you get that thing, then you divide by the rho A delta X, because rho is a constant, A in here is a constant. Okay, and then you want to take this delta X outside of this, so you take it, you divide by this delta X. Okay, once you get these things, then you can simplify further again, take the limit as delta X approaching 0, then you will get this. You can apply again if the given the assumption that the Cp and V are constant, then finally you will get these things in here. Okay, that this is what is given in your the slide in here, except this one is only giving you not as detailed step as this one in here. Okay, you need to be you need to pay attention into this example, because later in your test too, probably one example will come from the development of the distributed model and how you develop the distributed model. Okay, now if we take an assumption that there is a surrounding medium with the constant temperature Ts, so that reaction can be defined between heat flux and the temperature difference according to this particular equation, then we can substitute this Q with this particular equations in here. So we can further simplify to become these equations, your partial differential equation. Okay. So we have gone through the mass balance, we have gone through the energy balance, and last one is the momentum balance. Distributed momentum balance are quite different to mass energy balances. Like what I told you again, momentum is a factor since it is a product and mass velocity. So this is how we're developing these things. Okay, we will not go into the detail in here, but later when we go into your phenomena, just pay attention that you, for those that are interested, to check again the units, basically whether this is consistent or not. You put it in here, then you will get this term in here, and in 3 dimension it becomes this. And these are the examples. For example, if you have an incompressible liquid, the fluid behavior follows Newton's law. In the x direction, no gravity exists. Then you will have this famous Navier-Stokes equation. If one of you in the future do postgraduate research in the computational fluid dynamics, okay, then basically what you do is you apply the Navier-Stokes equation into your system to model what happens in the momentum along your model of the flow in your computational fluid dynamic systems. So the last things that you need to understand in the distributed model, that in order for you to be able to solve your distributed model, it will be slightly more complex than if you solve it using your LAM model, because you have to define the value of your properties at the system boundaries. Okay, there are 3 common boundary conditions. The first one is the Dirichlet boundary condition, so meaning the dependent variable has a given value at the boundary. And the second one is the von Neumann boundary conditions, meaning that the derivative has a given value at the boundary. So the derivative of that variables. The third one will be the Robin boundary conditions, or something you call the general von Neumann, where there is a given linear relation between the value and the derivative of the boundary. This is called the flux model of the boundary condition. Okay, so we will go through these things in more detail as we go and into our steady state distributed model, into the transient steady state, the transient distributed model. Okay, in here I also give you a little bit more into the different heat transfer modes. So for example, this one is the Fourier's law, and then when we change the notations into a capital, meaning we multiply with the surface area at which this heat transfer or this heat conduction applies to. Okay, we have a Newton's law of cooling in here, and then we have a convective heat flow in here. And note that the A is specific to the system and the heat transfer modes. Okay, so far, is there any questions? It's mostly on the development of the distributed model is a bit technical. Okay, I know it's probably boring to most of you, but regardless, before we can even go into the steady state distributed model or the transient distributed model, it's imperative that we go through all these derivations to show you how distributed model is developed. Okay, is there any questions from anybody? James, Juliana, Michael, Taha, Usman, Selena, Tiffany, Yusi, Wong Yao, Wei Xing. Any questions that you guys have on my on the slides that I derived today? Anything that you are not clear on, that you want to ask about? Or is it because it's lunchtime already, so you guys feel a bit tired already on this? Anybody? Any questions? Michael, Yusi, Taha, Tiffany, James, Selena, Weising, Juliana, Tah, Usman, Wong Yo. No? Okay. Then let me just take my attendance list. I know you guys are already tired basically lah, because this is already more than the time when the submissions all start on building up. So there will be no lecture, because my second lecture anyway will be used by Miss Lai for the process modeling, and I have finished basically the materials for the week 7. Okay, so I will not. There will be no second lecture for this week because it's going to be used by the tutorial. Going forward for this process modeling, normally I will only retain one lecture for the process modeling, because I will normally finish that material for that week for that during that particular lecture, normally on Monday. The second lecture we will normally let you utilize it for your assessment, or if you have any questions regarding the project 2 with Miss Lai, or if you want to meet me also, I'm happy with that. That's also the same with the process control, because I think it's not use. There is not much use, or not much effectivity if I try to fit you with much more materials into your semester. Okay, so I'm just letting you know for this on this one, and I think that's all for today. I will just stop my recording here.